Hey everyone, welcome to our live Q&A on Popeye. I know we're here about 2 minutes before we said we were going to be, so we're going to let everybody kind of come in, but you've got Meredith, you've got Andrew. We are so excited to talk about all of the announcements that just leaked on Popeye, to talk about the pre-orders, all of that good stuff. So let's make sure that we get all of your questions answered as we get going here. So I am going to start. Feel free to type in, by the way, all of your comments across all the different platforms, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching on Twitter, whether you're watching on Facebook, they do get filtered in so that we can answer all of your comments and questions as we go. But if you watched our awesome video that just went live, we had a lot of Popeye news. We had first shots, so showing the production movement for the figures in Wave 1. Those are still on track to hit in spring. We dropped all of the Wave 2 news, including the pre-orders, which was exciting. So we'll get to all of that. I see a ton of questions coming in. Let's see. We've already got questions on any chances for vehicles and playsets, Andrew.
I would love to do it. That's something I haven't had a chance to do in quite a while. It That sort of thing depends on how strong the sales are. If the sales are really, really strong, then we can justify the really high development cost of a product like a playset, a diorama, a vehicle. So that's how that happens.
I love it. And let's see, David here is asking how did we decide to do Popeye figures? So Andrew, I think we've kind of hinted at this. You are the ultimate Popeye fan. This is your
Oh,
favorite thing.
I don't know if I want to claim that label. I know a few people who might lay claim to it, but I'm a big fan, especially of Seeger's original comic strip. They are some of the best comics ever made. They're brilliant. They're hilarious, and yeah. I spend way too much of my waking time thinking about Popeye. So so that was the biggest motivating factor. Uh, but yeah, it also felt like it was time. Like we had just started talking with King about Popeye around I think it was the 90th anniversary a couple of years ago, and it had been a while since it was a really bang on toy expression, and never using the comic strips as the primary source. So, um, do we want to talk about what you just put on
Well,
screen?
I was pulling them up because we're getting a bunch of questions
Yeah.
on the figures themselves. Um, so I figured I'd just pull it up while we were talking. Why
Yeah.
don't you talk a little bit? I know we talked in the video about these, but this is Wave 2, so this is the
Yes.
white sailor suit version of Popeye.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. So the white sailor suit, which is kind of in the late uh, Fleischer era shorts and the famous studios shorts, and some of the comic material as well. There's some comics where he's got the white sailor suit, and sort of it's his number two iconic look. So it seemed like sort of an obvious choice for the Wave 2 version.
yeah, it's so good. And if you have questions as we are going through, definitely ask them. Let's see. What was the criteria to choose the 4 figures for Wave 1 and 2, and how did you make your decisions?
Um, when you're putting together a wave of figures, what you want to do is kind of balance your core characters, your A-level characters with the your B and C level characters, and so we made sure to sort of make a statement right out of the gate with Wave 1, where we had sort of the three obvious choices of Popeye, Olive, and Bluto, but then to bring in Olive's brother Castor Oil and just sort of say right out of the gate, like, this is going to be the definitive Popeye toy line. You will get characters that have never had toys before. Um, so yeah, and wave two was really all about making sure, of course, we were going to do Wimpy in wave two, you know, and then Sea Hag really the number one villain, and for me, Poop Deck Pappy is a personal favorite. He doesn't show up until later in Seeger's time on the strip, but he is such an interesting character in that he's generally a terrible person.
Well, so somebody was asking, because we had mentioned that in the video,
Yeah.
why is he so terrible? I think he's somebody that not as many people are familiar with. So why don't you give a little backstory
Yeah,
there?
yeah. So if you're only familiar with like the cartoons, it doesn't come through in a lot of those. He's sort of like uh he might be a little grumpy or grouchy or into doing things his own way, but yeah, sort of the real meat of the character is in the comic strip, and he he sort of refuses to act like a dignified old man. He is absolutely like uh maybe has some questionable attitudes about women, and likes to go out and be partying at all hours, and sort of uh, ends up bringing Popeye sort of no end of grief because of his behavior. Um, so he's sort of just a fascinating guy.
I like this. Rob is saying if he was a nice guy, he'd be poop deck sappy. Oh, I do love a good pun. Um, this is great. Yeah, so Poop Deck, kind of really fun character.
hmm and if you can go back to him
Yeah,
for a sec, just yeah, his little buddy there, Pookie Jones, he's definitely on the super obscure character side. But when Popeye and the gang first encounter Pappy in the comic strip, um, Pappy is sort of running these schemes and grifts, scaring people on boats with the sort of ghost act that takes advantage of Pookie's small stature, and so he's sort of very critical to that introduction storyline of Pappy.
yeah. So many fun characters, and with Castor, we added Eugene the Jeep and Bernice the Wiffle Hen. So I think
hmm
this is kind of a theme that people are going to see, is some of these
hmm
secondary characters get added in and built into some of these packs.
Yes.
Let's talk about the Sea Hag.
Yeah.
So I know I saw, so many people excited during the video when it came up. We had some comments about I thought she was green. Why did I think that? So let's talk about the Sea Hag and
Yeah.
how much of a villain she is to the storyline.
Yeah. Sea Hag is sort of, for all intents and purposes, the reoccurring villain. It in at least in large part in the comic strip. And she has her own aims, which is oftentimes gaining more magical power or gaining revenge or profiting monetarily. She will sometimes run sort of piracy schemes and stuff. But yeah, in some of the animation, she is colored uh, green. I think primarily in the like 1960s shorts for television. Um, she's colored green, but this Sea Hag is modeled after the way she appears in Seeger's run on the comic strip. So she has sort of a pale skin tone. She's sort of monochromatic, but she has her vulture with her, which, again, you want to talk about accessories and incredible value in each of these figures. That vulture is a big figure, and you know really barely fits within the realm of accessory. So the vulture is articulated. You can articulate the wings. You can articulate the head into a flight position. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty special.
Yeah, and David's saying that watching the Pookie Jones come in, he can't even imagine what other Thimble Theater characters will come. So
Yeah.
many, right, Andrew?
Yep. As as much as everyone will tolerate.
um, so I do want to make sure we also talk about Wimpy.
Of
He
course.
Everybody is super excited. I think one of the most uh, seen comments is about "I'd gladly pay you a hamburger Tuesday for a hamburger today." We get that all the time. We love it. You had to put him in, so
Mhm.
let's talk about this figure and all of the hamburgers that he comes with.
Yeah, so this one, again, is very modeled after the way Seeger draws him in the comic strip. He's got his alternate head with the open eyes, but we didn't. We may do some more expressive Wimpies, maybe some open mouths, depending on demand for further Wimpies. But we wanted to stick really with the way he's drawn most often in the comic strip on this one. He's got his alternate hands. He's got a kind of a stack of hamburgers there. He's got the meat grinder. If you want to have him chase a duck with the meat grinder, that's fine. Um, but yeah, I'm very pleased with how Wimpy is turning out.
Yeah, he's definitely a super fun one. Um, let's see. So Brian is saying, is there a possibility for a boss fight library? Lots of new brands that he's not immediately familiar with throughout all of our Boss Fest. Kind of lots of background info. We announced Labor in Kenya earlier this week, which is a really kind of fun indie comic. It's starting to get super popular now. That obviously based off the Seeger comics. These Popeye characters, some of them are new to people. um, we've got lots of brand building here, right? All sorts
Yes,
of fun things.
yes, and we deliberately make non-obvious choices. Um, when we decide which licenses we're interested in. Because there's so many different companies in the collectible space right now, and a lot of them making the same thing. It's like, why do you need more of that? So, for the most part, we try to look around for things that are maybe, um, not quite at the forefront of the pop culture discussion that moment, and some unexpected things. And I think Popeye and Lob Born Kenya, certainly fit into that. I think Popeye's, gonna have a moment culturally. I think it's happening. I'm seeing more people talk about it, and Lob Born Kenya is
Oh,
like, wow, it's getting super popular, and the response is huge. So.
yeah, and I mean it's just a brilliant comic. Um,
Mhm.
all right, let's see. We've got people noticing the meat grinder and all the different possibilities for the meat grinder there.
Yes,
That's why you
yes.
added it, right, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how that comes out in production, but that bowl at the top, you should be able to fit various things in if you want to have a weird macabre Popeye display.
Stitch is saying he needs to find a cow to scale. I mean, yeah. I want to make sure we also kind of hit on the progress that we're making at the factory that we talked about early on
Yeah.
in the video. So the first shots that we're seeing, they're really good. We're into some minor fine tuning at this point. Um, do you want to talk about the different colors? Because I know I saw at least one question come in when the video was playing about the odd colors that people see.
Yeah, yeah. So generally, when you're running first shots, early samples, to test the molds and test fit of parts and stuff like that, you're just running whatever the factory has on hand. Whatever leftover colors and plastics they might have, from whatever the last thing they ran was. So I think that's most of what you're seeing here on these guys. In a couple of places, they did actually, either paint a part because they were using, a colorless raw plastic, and that can be hard to see the details on, or maybe coincidentally, some of the actual uh, production colors, but yeah, and that's part of the fun of getting these samples too, is seeing them in the insane colors. I'm very fond of Bluto's bright blue beard on this sample.
Yeah, super, super fun there. And just kind of showing the other first shots that we got. This
Hmm.
includes the soft goods skirt.
Hmm.
Um, so we're really moving on these figures, and I know we said it in the video, but let's reiterate, these are moving through production. We're still looking on the spring timeline for X Factory, all of that good stuff.
Hmm.
Oh, I love it. More puns. Blue toe. Andrew hates puns. The rest of us love them, so we like to make sure we incorporate them where we can. um, yeah, we love these fun first shots as well.
They only sent one set of these.
Yeah.
We can't share them.
No, no. They're ours. um, so we've got. I love that there's a soft goods skirt here and not
Yes.
plastic. Do you want to talk about that decision to make that
Yeah.
a good skirt?
Yeah. Whenever possible, we design stuff to be fully articulated, fully usable. We don't like to obstruct range of motion on figures. So yeah, using a soft goods skirt for Olive and the Sea Hag, is sort of the best way to achieve that. Um, you know, because I don't like action figures, if you can't have them sit down, be in different poses, different situations. So yeah, we use soft goods whenever appropriate.
Yeah, we want you to play with your toys. I mean,
Yes.
you gotta have fun with them.
Although, and we're not going to show the packaging today, but you may want to get a second set to keep in package because the packaging is freaking gorgeous.
It is. It's gorgeous. I think we showed a real fast clip at one point, but there's more to come. It's looking real good.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
and it's really really special. Our packaging designer Dave Reeves has done a tremendous job, and then uh, we we got some assistance from some very very special people who have done worked on the Popeye brand in the past. We have illustrations on each of the boxes, brand new illustrations from Stephen DiStefano, who is a cartoonist and an animator, and he just absolutely killed it. And then we had the bios written by another cartoonist who's worked on Popeye in the past, Roger Langridge, and they're really really great. We had the bios written in Popeye speak, so there's a bit of deciphering that you have to do to figure out each individual character bio.
yeah, I mean that Popeye speak is just so fun to work with. It's great. Let's see. Yes, Kenneth, all the teases. We gotta do a little bit. Let's see. I know I saw a bunch of questions come in that I didn't hit earlier. So give me 1 second. Ba, ba, ba. Trying to navigate through all of the questions that you guys are asking is quite the feat. You mentioned other Popeye lines and expressions. Anything you can hint at beyond what you shared in the video?
It's probably a little early to hint explicitly at other things, but we're definitely looking at different ways to get you a lot of characters at once, and different formats that these guys, all the Popeye characters, um, would be appealing in. Um, our friends at King Features have been incredible partners on this. They've sort of basically said yes to everything that we've put in front of them. So that's been great. And if people keep buying Popeye and keep talking about Popeye, we will do a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun because this is a brand that we really love and we're having a ton of fun with it. And, I think Andrew mentioned it in the video, like the response has just been great on these figures.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely something that we're having fun with. And, let's talk about how quickly we're showing kind of the wave two, even though wave one is kind of halfway through production, right? Or like gearing towards like production. The This is a line that we're gonna be cranking through. So, we're starting the wave two now. It's technically kicked off with the factory, and that's why we're opening up pre-orders. Those won't be very far behind the wave one.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of just the way, given the circumstances of the marketplace and given the circumstances of uh just the way collectible toys work now. We have to sort of follow up that first wave with the second one fairly quick, and we're pretty confident that the timing on this product line is going to be really good, um, for everybody, and very enjoyable. So there are future waves racked right up and ready to move forward. So
yeah, and I think, showing that we'll keep you guys, of course, clued in throughout the production process. If you know us and you've followed us for years, you know that we kind of show the process throughout. Um, so we're showing you guys the forward momentum here, which is great. Let's see. Kenneth says, as a retailer, his customer base is super excited for these. Love it. Let's see. Stitch is asking, do Pappy's and Popeye's heads exchange?
yeah, they've each got a an alternate head, and those change out. They're on a little ball joint.
I think he's
But
asking, could you
could
interchange
I
them?
switch Pappy's head? Uh, Probably. I honestly haven't given that any thought. There is not going to be like a universal head size or universal wrist peg size for these, just because really, with the exception of Popeye and Pappy, each one of these characters is so different, so we can't have like the level of interchangeability that we have with hacks. um I will keep an eye on it as we get into production with these guys, but I c- it's not a promise I can make on it, but yeah, I'll see if we can do that.
All right. And Rob's saying he needs to make a pilgrimage to our retail store. Our retail store is actually closed right now. So while we're super excited to open it back up at some point, we're waiting until it's a little safer for our employees. We're trying to keep everybody healthy and safe as much as we can. Um, but someday we hope to see you in person. Let's see. Is the pipe removable?
That is an issue, I'm working on ironing out. I would like it to be, but then there's also concerns about a very small accessory, um, falling out in package or getting easily lost. If we can find a way where, the pipes fit into the mouths very securely, but are still removable, then we will do that. Right now, the first shots they sent, they actually glued them in to keep them in place in the package. But yeah, that is we'll see. That is a question we're working on.
It's part of the fine tuning
Yes.
process. As we showed you guys the first shots, like they're looking great. There's small tweaks we're making
Yes.
to kind of keep it to our standards and to do real things, and that's one of the pieces that we're looking at.
Yeah, a lot of the comments that I've made to the factory have been like, "Oh, like how can we improve the fit of these hats and tighten these hip joints and all of that." It's that sort of stuff and dialing it all in so it feels and works right and meets consumer expectations.
Yeah, and I mean, these are really looking great so far, is what we
Yes.
can promise. Um, Photos, it's hard to see, but the details are coming through. The sculpted details are coming through really nicely in hand. They're really moving nicely. Is
Yes.
probably the easiest, nicest way we can put that.
Yeah, and I should add, sort of on a similar note, what you're seeing here for Wave 2 are digital renders on the sculpt files. So these are not physical samples. We do not have the physical samples yet. So there will be, little changes here and there. But essentially these are giving you a pretty good idea of what they're going to look like.
Yeah, we're loving these looks though.
Yes.
That vulture is just so fun.
Yeah, Tony put a lot of work in on the Sea Hag sculpt, and he just killed it. It's great.
It is so good. Um, so we love jumping on and answering your questions. These are really fun for us to do. I'm so glad that everybody seems to be super excited here. Let's see, somebody's asking about guesstimate dates for series 1 and 2. So series 1 we've said will be spring 2022, so soon. Um, we're working through the process of the factory. Series 2, I think we're saying, best case scenario end of this year, potentially very early next year.
Yeah, yeah. Everything goes smoothly, and who knows these days. But yeah, yeah. You won't have a. I don't think you'll have a super long wait.
No,
For
these
Wave
are
2.
already in process, and everything right now has the asterisk barring, more global crises.
Yeah.
But so far, these figures have been moving very nicely.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, we want to thank you all for joining, all of your questions. We'll continue to answer questions as we see them on the posts and online. But pre-orders for wave 1 are still open, but probably not that much longer. So if you've been waiting, now would be a good time to do that. Pre-orders for wave 2 are today now just opened
Yes.
in timing with the video. So you've got your 4 characters there. Definitely, make sure you're getting pre-orders in. This is how we judge how excited people are for figures. But we hope you've all enjoyed this. We can't wait to show you more Popeye, and tons more is coming.
Yep.
We'll
Oh,
be oh,
and don't forget the Big Bad Toy Store exclusive,
yes, the
the
Big Bad
black
Toy
and white
Store
Popeye,
exclusive.
which is
Yeah,
awesome.
we showed that in the video, and it is
Yeah.
so fun, and it is a very limited run. So once they're gone, they're gone.
And I want to do more of those. So
Absolutely. We do have more exclusives coming with other waves that we're in the works with. But hope you all enjoyed this look into Popeye. We have more exciting reveals with Boss Fest the rest of this week. We close out Sunday with kind of what we're calling our Epic Boss Fight Live to answer questions across all the brands. But tomorrow we've got another new brand reveal at
Hmm.
2 p.m. that you guys are going to get really excited about. This is my personal favorite, I think, of everything we're showing at Boss Fest. All right, guys. So hope you have a great night. Go order your Popeye figures. Enjoy all of the photos and spoilers we've been sharing, and we will see you all tomorrow for our next big brand reveal and another live Q&A right afterwards. Have a great night, guys.